W- Welcome back to another episode of Ripping On. Tonight I had a debate between two movies. One was Tomorrow Wars and A Quiet Place 2. And in the end, A Quiet Place 2 won. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so the movie starts off with a prequel to the first movie, which is perfectly fine. I actually don't mind that all that much. I have a couple of issues with it though, because let's say we start off with an understanding of how the aliens got here, which appears to be by via asteroid, and you see like in the distance the asteroid falling through the atmosphere and all this kind of stuff, and then there's some debris that falls off, and then within seconds, or I should say maybe minutes, I don't mean to say seconds, but within minutes, the city's attacked. Like there's no way that would happen so fast, unless they were being teleported onto Earth or something of the sort. Even then, it doesn't even show that. So, yet again, like within seconds of them seeing the asteroid, apparently the city is attacked, and that is just ridiculous. So, within the same prequel and everything, I'm gonna criticize the alien because there's no consistency in this alien. From the previous movies, we understand that it's attracted by noise and all this kind of stuff. So within the scene of the city being attacked, um, a cop arrives. They talk, and the alien just randomly smashes into the cop car where the sirens aren't blaring and all that kind of stuff. And then it just proceeds to attack people, but it makes no sense because there were a lot more people talking and saying stuff. Why didn't it just go for them? I don't know if it was just to show that the alien was hyper aggressive or the strength of it. It made no sense. Anyways, like as the scenes progress and everything, the dad grabs the daughter and pulls her into a bar and everything, and they're trying to be quiet, which makes sense. Like typically, if you're being attacked by an unknown entity or in like person, you would stay quiet as much as you can. But the problem with this is that as that scene is transpiring, they also have one of these aliens like taking its time to search for them, which makes no sense because you're talking about a whole entire little town of people running around frantically, screaming, people are injured, car alarms going off, or even horns from accidents that occur. Like it makes no sense how this alien is behaving, and the scene makes no sense at all. So after a couple more minutes of watching, we've returned to the present day. It's supposed to be like 400 and something days later, and I'm fairly, I'm fairly certain I remember the first movie and everything. And at the end, they fired a gun to kill one of the aliens after they realized there's a weakness via the daughter's hearing aid. So now I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, they're going to continue this scene with a couple more aliens charging in, trying to attack them, something of the sort. Because, I mean, you leave one scene where it's like a lot of adrenaline and fear and all that kind of stuff, and you would continue with another one where it makes sense for the alien, right? For them to approach because there's a gunshot and everything, but they decided to go with the hey, let's just gather things and leave the area, which makes no sense because you would figure that hey, you killed one of these aliens and you used a gun, so another alien or a couple more aliens should be arriving to fight or to investigate the area, which makes no sense why they just decided to say, all right, we're safe, let's just get on our merry way. It makes no sense, and I'm a little disappointed in this outcome for us returning to the present day and basically starting off from where we left off in the first movie. It's pretty lame. Whew. How do I describe this? So in the scene that I just witnessed, the family have come across a booby trap. Now, being someone with some brains, or I'm hoping at least people with some brains would probably have considered this. Now, you as a family are traveling. You have the ability to kill these aliens or slow them down enough for you to kill them. Now, you make a little bit of noise via the booby trap. I'm not too certain why someone would write into the script, "Hey, let's have us run like crazy, not knowing what would be coming," right? Like just running would cause the alien to chase after you and give away your location. Now that's just me, my thinking. Now, in this scene, they do this, they run, the son is hurt, and he starts screaming. Now, I mean, logically, you would be like, oh, okay, there's a danger now because he's screaming. Like, okay, there should be an alien there already. But in the scene, none of this happens. Like, they run, they make noise, the son is hurt, he starts screaming. No indications of the alien coming just yet. They put away the baby, and then all of a sudden you hear a random screech from the alien indicating that it's coming, and then they decide to set up to kill it. And I'm like, wait, why didn't you do this in the get-go? Like, this would have made more sense. You know you made noise via the booby trap, then your instinct should have been like, let's set up, let's kill it now. You would have been way safer. Your son wouldn't have gotten hurt. Like, it makes no sense, the decision making of this mom or the script writers or whatever. But I mean, yet again, this movie is being really inconsistent when it comes to the alien because in previous scenes, slight noise from humans would cause this alien to go on a berserker mode and just smash and destroy everything, right? And now we see that they've made way more noise, and it seems like the aliens take their sweet time. Now, I'm really annoyed with the inconsistency of the alien, but I will continue and we'll see where it leads. Oh my goodness. Okay, I shouldn't have spoken so soon. Apparently, within the next 3 minutes, after the scene I just witnessed, it seems like they run into a building. There's an individual there who kind of leads them to safety and everything. But the mere fact that there's an actual alien within the building is so idiotic. Like, yet again, I'm also pointing out the mere fact that any kind of noise made by humans, these aliens attack. And now it shows them running into a building with an alien there, and it's like it's not going on a berserker rampage attacking whatever it hears. It just decides to sense the area to see where they are. Now, the scene continues where they run and they try to get into safety or like this little bunker area. Now, I mean, okay, that makes sense. But at the same time, you have the alien who decides to randomly, after like searching for them, decide to smash and attack things, which is causing noise and everything. Like, I just have to point out that this alien is so inconsistent that it makes no sense why they would go about making some of these scenes that I'm witnessing right now. Anyways, let's continue. Now, apparently, I have to point out this idiotic moment, right? So, we've seen that the alien, or I've witnessed that this alien is inconsistent, and all of a sudden, they're making this alien consistent, which is kind of funny because they're inside of the furnace, hunkering down and trying to keep a low profile. So, now it's indicating that the alien, once it searches the area, it just randomly leaves. Like, I don't get it. Like, I understand the timer for when you're in the furnace for the amount of air you need, but then he just comes out and it's like everything is a-okay. Like, it makes no sense. Why is it all of a sudden like you know that the alien just leaves after a certain period of time to to what basically patrol the area? This alien makes no sense. Like, I don't understand why they went with an inconsistent alien. Like, it makes no sense. Oh my goodness. Um, there's a lot to get through. This man apparently doesn't want them there. Fine, sure, whatever. I, I, I don't understand how they decided to make this the like the continuation of this, right? So basically, he tells them he doesn't want them there. There's not enough food and everything, and they're like, I guess discussing stuff. Now the daughter finally realizes that the song that they hear on the radio in a previous scene is now a clue to a location of safe harbor or something of the sort, right? Like somewhere they think that people will still survive. And I'm like, okay, fine, this is reasonable. Now, can someone explain to me why someone with a massive disadvantage would decide that they are going to go off alone where they're almost incapable of detecting danger around them and they're running into danger? Like, I don't understand the logic behind it. Now, I guess I'm assuming the person who wrote the script just wanted to be like, she is like her dad. She is going to try no matter what. But I mean, if you're traveling with your family, I mean, it makes sense that you would wait or something to get your to stay together as a family. I don't know. I don't understand the logic behind this girl and what she's doing because it's so idiotic. But yet again, I'll continue. Like, it makes no sense how someone wrote this script to make it seem like it's good. I don't know. We'll see. Excuse me. I'm not too sure why they even went along with this. Like, why did they create a character who's like hell bent on them leaving, like the very next day when he tells them there isn't enough food and supplies for them all to survive and all that kind of stuff. Then to all of a sudden turn around and have him be like, I'm gonna go save your daughter. Like, I I don't understand how that works, but we'll say that we can connect it because he's known them for a certain period of time before the alien attack, and this is why he's doing it. Sure, we can go with that. So whatever, fine. He's gonna go after her, I'm assuming. So now we come across a scene where the daughter is walking past a train station platform, and there's a bunch of shoes on the platform. And at first, I'm like questioning to myself. I'm like, what's the point in that scene? Why would you do that? And I'm like, whatever. I kind of brush it off. And then the next scene that I'm currently paused at is where she comes across a train cart, and I guess she's deciding to go in. So I'm gonna see what happens next, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be idiotic because I don't understand why she would just randomly stop and go into the a train cart. Oh, so now she's gone into the cart and everything. We see that the human bodies are left there in the cart, the ones who were killed. So my brain automatically figures, oh, okay, the platform scene was to indicate that there were people who were smart enough to take off their shoes and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, fine, that makes sense. So now I have a huge amount of gripe with this movie. So she decides to go into this train cart. She decides to go and look for meds, which I mean, typically not too many people would have thought of this, but I'll say sure, fine. So she goes, she tries to get the meds, and in doing so, she makes a noise. She squeals, and to my knowledge, the alien, from what we know so far, would always run in and smash, or it would just destroy wherever it heard the noise, right? So now this alien is in the cart with her. She starts panicking, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is precisely what I meant by I don't understand how her reasoning made sense for her to run off by herself when she has a disadvantage for hearing danger or being able to be aware of danger. So now I'm like, okay, fine. And she's panicking. She shoots it. She damages it. Within that moment, as soon as she damaged it, I was like, oh, they're gonna go with the whole entire scenario that it's gonna retreat, it's gonna be damaged, so it's not gonna be able to sensor very well, and it will kind of like pursue her, right? And I'm like, okay, this makes sense. This would be a great way to continue the movie because so far it indicates that these aliens seem to only attack by themselves and never really in pairs or multiple. So I'm like, okay, so it would make sense that if that's the case, then it would hunt her by itself while doing this thing. And I'm like, yeah, that would be great. I would have given up a lot of the gripe that I had with this movie if they had gone with this scenario. But in the end, they don't. They literally have the sniper dude decide to kill it, and I'm like, okay, acceptable. And basically, I pause the movie when he kills it, and I'm like, okay, acceptable. But I mean, where are they going with this? Like, this whole entire scene was so pointless that I mean, there isn't much for me to say other than it's a pointless scene for nothing. And if you want to say it allows him to catch up to her, I mean, even then, that's still pretty idiotic. But we'll continue and see how this goes down. Boy. All right. So basically, they rush out of the cart, the train cart, and they run back to the platform, the train platform, and they hide in there. And another alien shows up, and it does its little clickbait thingy, like click, 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 and then for some surprising reason, this alien just decided to run off in a random direction. Like it makes no sense. Like why? Why did it do such a thing? Anyways, so I'm like, okay, fine, fine. Um, Sure, like it runs off in a direction, and then they decide to communicate with each other verbally, like they're talking to each other. And from what we know of this alien so far, and the bare basics of what we can say is supposed to be consistent, is that the moment it hears noise that isn't ambient noise, it just comes charging in. So how can these two decide to say, "Hey, let's talk right now"? Like this movie is so inconsistent. It's so inconsistent. Now the next thing that really bothers me is the fact that the mother tells him to go find my daughter, bring her back, whatever, right? And I'm okay with that. Yeah, sure. Whatever decision he decides to do, it doesn't make a difference really. But then when he finds her, she manages to persuade him to help her to go to wherever she needs to. And I'm thinking to myself, how did she just change his mind by just saying, hey, you couldn't do enough for your wife, but you can do more for, you can help now, or something along the line. Now I'm thinking to myself, in one of the previous scenes when they were talking, he literally stated to her that the humans that remain from what he's encountered are not worth saving. So how does he just automatically say, yes, let me just go and save others? Like, the alien was being inconsistent. Now this character, who is the sniper dude or whatever his name is, I mean, really? What is with this movie? It makes no sense. It's so something different. I have a mini gripe to point out. It's kind of really meaningless, but at the same time, it's not. I just realized, well, I didn't just realize, but I realized like we all notice that the family walks around barefooted because they want to minimize the amount of noise that they create. But then again, the sniper dude is walking around with boots on, and to my knowledge, I mean, walking on pebbles and stuff like that with your bare feet minimizes the noise to some extent. But then for him to be walking around with boots and everything, I mean, it's going to make a lot more noise. It's going to make enough noise that the alien should technically detect it and be like, oh, there's something wrong over here and come and investigate. But yet again, inconsistency with this goddamn alien. So yeah, what fun. I have to question how these characters are supposed to be thinking logically. Okay, now the son decides to leave the bunker or the safe area and go up into the building to look through a window with binoculars, which makes no sense because I mean, is he expecting his mom to be coming back with a torch, with a flashlight? I don't understand why this scene is even necessary, but again, he causes noise, which causes one of these aliens to just randomly just show up into the building. Like it just bursts into the building because it's like, hey, I heard noise. Now, I'm like, okay, whatever, big deal. There's no inconsistency. There's a lot of inconsistency with this alien, so I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll brush over it. So then the mom, on her way back, realizes that the area is being attacked by an alien, and magically somehow she manages to get fuel and pour it on the floor, put one of the air canisters on it, and I'm like, okay, magic happens in this world all of a sudden. She baits out the alien and everything. So when she blows up the canister, which we've already seen that these aliens are highly resistant to bullets and explosions and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, whatever. The fire suppression system goes off, and me being a reasonable person or maybe being too brave, I would be like, okay, while it's trying to sense the area or pinpoint my location, why not put a bullet through its head and the danger would be gone for the moment, and then I'll just deal with the next one that would arrive. But then again, we also saw that after a certain amount of time, it just leaves the area. So that would have been my logic, my reasoning. But no, she decides to rush back to her children, which, yet again, I'm okay with because, I mean, it's a mom. Maybe she's too concerned with her children, but not concerned enough to get rid of the danger and then deal with the children. But I guess we'll go with whatever they decide. But I mean, it makes no sense. But yeah. So let's continue with the daughter and the sniper dude, right? So I'm a little, I don't know what to say when it comes to this scene. It seems kind of idiotic, but whatever. So yet again, there's no consistency with how these characters interact or live their lives per se. So they come across the harbor, which is what he took her to because he said he found a boat and all this kind of stuff. So while they're there, they come across a little girl. Now, me being a reasonable person, thinking to myself, hey, it's been 400 and something days that we've been surviving. Now, given that it's a little girl, I'm not saying that they can't survive or anything of that sort. I'm just saying I'd be a little more hesitant to approach a child who I understand to be surviving by herself. I would not put down my weapon so easily and approach her and be all lovey-dovey and caring to that child. I might sound like a monster, but at the same time, I think I'm being fairly reasonable, right? Anyways, so he does this. He gets snared by a sound trap, and then they are ambushed by a bunch of other humans who apparently are cannibals. They turn out to be cannibals of some sort. I'm not too sure. I paused the scene when he decides to take the girl, and the sniper rifle dude is like telling the girl to dive in the water. I paused it there. Now, uh, I just don't understand why this was even needed, but I mean, I'm gonna see what happens next, and I hope I come back with positive reviews on that next scene, but most likely not. Oh, this movie. All right. Basically, he gets the balls right after that scene to get up and make noise. Now, yet again, this movie is inconsistent when it comes to the alien. He makes noise, and within seconds, the alien charges in and starts killing people. Now, these are cannibals who've been surviving for a while. Why is it all of a sudden when an alien shows up, they start freaking out and panicking and not allowing the alien to to kill them, not capture them? And I'm like thinking to myself, like, they've been surviving this long, they would know not to make noise. Why would all of a sudden they would be panicking and freaking out and like what? Like what is this scene? Like what am I watching? Like it's so idiotic. This movie, it every time I think it's possible for it to go in a direction that would make it good, it just decides to shit on itself. I don't understand. I don't understand why this is even a thing. Like this movie's a thing. I don't get it. Now, I stopped when he jumps into the water and everything, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And the alien jumps in the boat, and I just pause it right there. So we'll see what happens next. I just witnessed the most idiotic thing in the world. Okay, so continuing from that scene, he dives into the water, all that good stuff, and it's like the alien is on the boat. He makes a tiny amounts of noise, and this alien decides to jump into the water after him. And I'm like, oh, okay, okay. And then he notices that the alien can't swim. Uh, okay. How is it someone like him, who is a trained professional killer, I'm assuming, of some sort, he wouldn't monopolize on this feature of the alien? I mean, I would have monopolized on this, and it makes no sense. Like, you realize it can't swim, you make more noise, so the other alien, which apparently they decided to show up two this time. It wasn't just one. This movie is so inconsistent when it comes to the alien. It makes no sense. Anyways, so like basically, okay, one of them jumps in the water, dies. You make noise so the other one jumps into the water also, so that way they can both die or whatever they do when they go underwater, right? Like, like, what am I watching? And then to top it off, in that whole entire commotion, when he went after the dude and dove into the water, he manages to keep her hearing aid in his mouth. Like, wow. Like, wow. That's some devotion right there. Anyways, let's continue. Holy smokes. Oh, before I even continue, my apologies. I just have to point out one thing. The moment humanity would have realized that these aliens couldn't swim and all this kind of stuff, we would have won this. We would have survived. Like, I would have to admit, like, in the beginning, if this attack occurred, the initial attack we would have lost a good deal of people. But the moment we would have noticed certain aspects of the alien, like it's attracted to noise and stuff like that, and it can drown, I mean, we would have won this already. This is such an idiotic movie. And then this is not even taken into consideration. We have submarines, we have boats on the ocean, and all this kind of stuff. Like humanity would have survived this with ease after the initial attack. This alien is so ridiculous that it's pointless to try and point out that this thing would have killed us, wiped us out. It's so stupid. Alright, so we've made it to the island. They've interacted with some of the humans that were there. They're living life like normal and everything. Now, I mean, the guy literally tells him that the National Guard knew that these aliens couldn't survive in water. Like, wait, what? You're telling me like National Guard, the military, Air Force, all these government-run organizations couldn't have made a repeating radio frequency and all this kind of stuff to inform the general public to what these things can do and how to kill them and all this kind of stuff? Like, what? What are you trying to say, movie? Like, it's so idiotic. Oh my goodness, this movie. I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt here, but it just seems like it's so stupid. Like, everything that happens in this movie is stupid. It's hard to believe. Anyways, let's continue. I'm almost done, I'm assuming. Whew. Okay, after he discovers that an alien is on the island because of the previous scene where one of them jumped onto the boat and the boat ended up floating off or whatever. Now he discovers that there's an alien that's on the island. He goes running to the outpost with people and everything, and he's yelling, "Get inside! Get inside!" Now, I am completely annoyed by this alien right now. He is yelling and there's an individual who's pulling up water from a well, and the alien decides to attack that individual and not the him who's yelling. This movie, so stupid. If this alien was a little more consistent, I'd probably give it much more. But right now, it's so stupid. Like, it's so stupid. Anyways, let's see the next scenes that to come. I have a legit grievances with movies that put scenes like this in their movie, where throughout like massive destruction and all this kind of rampaging danger, and they decide to put a child just oblivious to the world standing there, and then they save this one child. Like I hate scenes like this. It's so stupid. In a scenario where um you have no connection to this individual child, I find it almost impossible that you would go out of your way while you know that this alien has a real violent way of handling other humans. You're gonna just decide to go risk your life, grab this one individual child. Like I can understand for people who have a connection to this individual, this child, they would go out of their way to try and grab the kid. But you just arriving, not knowing anything, just saying I'm gonna go and save this one child is so idiotic. And I've come across a lot of movies with this scene in it, and it really irritates me because it's so pointless. It shows nothing. It indicates nothing. It's a pointless scene for I guess something maybe I don't understand. Maybe someone could clarify what that scene is meant to do. I don't know, but it's so idiotic, and I hate it in almost every single movie that I come across. Like it's something I despise. Anyways, yeah, let's continue. Okay, how do you introduce a character in this movie all of a sudden who looks completely badass in all the scenes that we've seen him in so far, except for the parts where he's talking? Like he grabs his kids, he's all serious. He looks like he knows what he's doing, right? He's brave. Braver than most people. He runs to his car, jumps in, honks the horn, and he's like, "Yeah, let's get the hell out of here. Let's draw it away from everyone else." And I'm like, "Cool, this guy's pretty badass." Now, you basically have this individual switch on a dime the moment he reaches his destination. And I mean, he had the thing on the car. This is the scene I'm talking about. He had the thing on the car. This man was unflinching. He didn't flinch when that thing was on the car, attacking the vehicle or whatever. He was like, I look badass, right? Now he gets to his destination, and all of a sudden, on a dime, he flips and he's like, my family. I have to get back to my family. I'm so concerned for my family. My family, my family. And this causes him to die. Now, I mean, it's so idiotic. It's so goddamn stupid. This scene is so pointless. Like, so far, this movie has had so many scenes that are pointless to it, and I don't understand why this movie was even made. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous right now. This movie has so many things wrong with it. Um, so basically, I just watched the scene. I've basically just finished the movie. So the mere fact that the alien stayed in the cauldron while the mom went out to get the drugs and everything while they were hiding in the furnace. I mean, so far that's like crazy wild that the alien decides to just hang around, right? I've pointed out that we don't know if it patrols or if it goes stationary or whatever. Fine, whatever. At this moment I don't really care because the movie is so inconsistent. It doesn't even matter in the long run. So now I've finished watching the movie and we have seen that these like, I don't know even how to say it. Now I can understand for the brother. She's able to transmit the frequency via the radio, and the brother uses that to get the alien to open up its faceplate, and he's able to shoot it in the face. And I'm fairly okay with that. I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. But now you're also going to tell me an alien creature that is so resilient to explosions, gunfire, and all these other forms of attack is able to be taken out with just one swing to the head with a metal rod of some sort? Are you joking me? Are you joking me? This movie is so idiotic. It's impressive. It's so impressive right now. I don't know what to say. touching on the point of it being killed one shot there. Now, I love alien movies and all this kind of stuff, just to give you some kind of insight to how my brain thinks. Now, I like aliens, and typically when you create uh, an idea for an alien and all this kind of stuff, you run through some pointers, right? You make a good reason for why this alien should be used for your movie and everything. Now they create like people had to have sat around and debated on what would be the best way to make this alien portrayed on 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 the screen and everything. Like some people, somebody had to have done this. Now you're telling me in that whole entire process, no one pointed out all these flaws in the alien? I mean, all this information on the alien, we could have easily gotten it via all different kinds of sources, right? Like, it makes no sense for them to create this alien and use it in this movie. It was so idiotic. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand why they went with this. I just wish someone would explain to me why. Alright, so let's get to the verdict now. My personal opinion on this movie, or my rating for this movie, is a 2 on 10. The movie is inconsistent. There is not much to the story other than a beeline to some end goal. Uh, a huge amount of flaws in the behaviors of the characters, the environment, the aliens. I have to keep pointing out the alien being so flawed in so many ways. So my personal rating is 2 out of 10, and I find it really doubtful that this movie could have gotten anything higher than a 2 out of 10 from me because I mean it's just idiotic. Now, as for the general public, I would most likely assume people would give it a 7 to 8 on average, and the lowest would be a 6. But I think like a 7 and 8 is reasonable for the general public if they don't pay attention to any of the flaws in this movie. So yeah, this is the outcome of this movie. I'm somewhat happy I was able to rip into a movie today because my first movie I wasn't able to, and this one was ripe with a bunch of pointers or key points where I could rip into, and I'm kind of happy I did. And technically, the next movie I should be doing will be um, Tomorrow Wars, and I'm eager to get into that one. So thank you for joining me on episode 2 of Ripping On, and I hope you enjoy. See you on the next one.